Are you ready? I would like to call this meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Bites?
Here.
Commissioner Doherty?
Here.
Commissioner Frederick? Commissioner Lee?
Here.
Commissioner Lawford?
Here.
Commissioner Malone?
Here.
And Commissioner Teeter is absent.
Okay, and now it's time for the approval of the minutes.
There a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstains? Abstain? You abstain? Okay. Is any no's? Okay, thank you.
Presentations? Okay, are there any oral requests? Any unfinished business? Okay, now we're on to new business, and we would like to have the introduction of the new commissioners.
Thank you, Chair. So as you know, we have 3 commissioners term out at the end of December, and council. Maybe the next to last meeting. Yeah, anyway, it was announced in December. And we have 3 new commissioners. We have Brian Malone, we have Shirley Lawfer, and we have Michael Frederick, and perhaps they would all like to introduce themselves.
Very happy to be serving the Campbell community. I moved to Campbell in 1992, raised 2 kids here, and then they left and went back east. And then I've also been in parks and open space my entire career. I've been with the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District for 35 years. So I hope to bring that experience and my experience as a Campbell resident to help on the commission. I really appreciate the appointment.
And I forgot to turn on my mic. My apologies. Older adults and individuals with disabilities. And I'm also really interested in the community center renovations and upgrades. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michael Frederick. I have been a Campbell resident since 2013, and I grew up in San Jose, so I spent a lot of time in and around Campbell. As a kid, I used to come to the skate park back in the early 2000s when it was somewhat new. So I feel I do have a lot of vested interest in a lot of these renovations that are going to be happening, a lot of the master plan and everything else. I am currently an engineer on the capital projects team for the city of Sunnyvale. So I feel that background kind of brings a different perspective to this position. I also feel like I want to bring some, since I have 2 young children, we are just starting to utilize many of the classes and other things at the rec center, a lot of the parks and everything else. So bring that perspective to be represented here on this commission. So I'm happy and excited to be here.
Thank you, Michael. So now we are on to the election of the chair and the vice chair.
There it is. So, thank you, Chair. So, this is a process that we conduct annually, and there really are no set rules. It's kind of a process unto itself. So the chair is typically rotated through on an annual basis. Doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way it is. Historically, it has not been uncommon for the vice chair to be nominated as chair because that kind of helps get you ready. And the vice chair presumably would chair in the absence of the real chair. Not sure that that happened too many times this year. And so we would first take nominations for chair. And upon completion of that, we would take nominations and conduct the process then for vice chair. So with that, I guess I'll turn it back to the chair and you can look to see if there are nominations.
Do we have any nominations? Does anybody want to self-nominate? Okay.
I nominate you.
Who's our vice chair? Oh, okay.
Oh, you? No,
I think
no.
Frank is
Frank,
the vice
Frank.
chair right now.
Okay.
Yes.
I feel like that was a preemptive strike.
So do we have any?
So, Frank, if you were willing to consider it, I would nominate you.
You can nominate.
I'll nominate Frank.
I think we first need a second
Oh.
on the chair and finish that process before we move on to vice chair.
I'll second the chair.
So now we vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'm sorry, what was the motion? What were we having?
For Jerry Doherty.
The chair,
continue as
okay.
chair.
What?
Got it.
Did you accept that?
Did you realize
nomination?
this
No.
was happening?
No, I did not. That was sneaky.
I didn't do anything with that.
He
Okay,
nominated you.
okay.
Speech?
You okay with that?
You know what?
I'm kidding.
Since I will give you a short one. Since this will be my last year on the commission, I would be happy to serve as chair for my final outgoing
Very
year.
good. That's good.
So, thank you, Frank.
Okay, let me go ahead and do that again then. So all in favor for chair, for Chair Doherty to be chair of PRC? All,
Aye.
okay, perfect. Any abstains? Any noes? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now we will go on to the election of the vice chair. And so do we want to stay with status quo since
We're
everyone's,
looking for nominations.
or nominations? Nominations?
I mean, I would, is there interest from either of you, either for you to continue?
I would be happy to continue
Okay.
as the vice chair.
I will nominate Frank as the vice chair.
I'll second that nomination.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? Thank you.
Okay, well, since that concludes this part of our meeting, we don't need to change any
We do
positions. So we'll just stay here. And the Parks and Recreation Commission committees.
Okay. Does she want to do it? Ask her if she wants to. If not, we will keep on rolling.
Natasha, do you want to present this?
My voice is kind of like scratchy. I'm happy to jump in if you if you need some help with anything, but I'm just kind of here for support.
Okay, very good. So with that little factoid, we will continue. So for those of you that have reviewed the agenda for this meeting and for previous meetings, you will see that there are 3 subcommittees of this commission. And subcommittees are intentionally set a subset of that commission and is less than a quorum. So that allows you the ability to talk about issues for your specific topic without, without causing without violating the Brown Act, because this is a public body, and so subsets for a specific purpose can conduct meetings and can meet on specific topics. Historically, we have had 3 subcommittees for the Park and Rec Commission. We have had, and it's in your packet for those of you that have it, we've had the Parks and the Creek Trail one, and the Parks and the Creek Trail one is typically one that visits park sites, can ask questions, can point things out over what the condition and use of our facilities is. We also have what's called the Tree Subcommittee, and the original intent of that is that when public trees are requested for removal, typically by private citizens or by a development application, if the staff denies or approves, depending on the particular tree, and if a member of the public wishes to appeal that, they would go to the subcommittee. The most typical way this would happen is that it would be for a street tree. The most common ones that we've had in the past would be in a residential type neighborhood. So if a homeowner, for example, was doing a home remodel and was going to relocate their garage to another side of their property, and where they wanted to put the driveway in, there was a perfectly healthy tree, and they would have applied for a removal application, staff would likely have said no, because this tree is perfectly healthy. And then if the homeowner wished to appeal, they would meet with the Park and Rec subcommittee on trees. For better or worse, we have not had one of those incidents in more than 5 years. So that's probably a good thing. So the tree one has not really been a productive use of anyone's time. And typically, when you read previous minutes and you read the subcommittee report outs, you will read that the tree committee typically has nothing to report. And then for the special event one, we have been focused on, and this probably involves recreation more than parks, but typically when special events are being put together that serve the community, the Oktoberfest run, the Valentine's run, any of the other events that the city sponsors, there is usually a call out from recreation to engage commissioners on whether or not they can assist and provide support for those events. And usually the special event subcommittee was kind of the first call on that. And they would also provide support and or visit these events and just kind of report out to the larger commission what their view of the event was. And that has been a fairly good subcommittee. There's we continue to have special events, but because of the sometimes hot and cold nature of when we host events, and then not to mention what I already spoke of with the tree subcommittee, we are, as staff, are proposing restructuring the subcommittees. So the proposal would be to retain the Park and Creek Trail Subcommittee in its current form, to replace the Tree Subcommittee with what we would call the Recreation Subcommittee, and to expand kind of the scope of the Special Event Committee and call that the Community Building Subcommittee. And there is a short staff report in your packet there. So the Recreation Subcommittee would provide insight to the commission, particularly around the recreational programming and facilities needs that come from the Recreation and Community Services Department. So largely around what you find at the community center. Much of what you spoke of that brought you to the commission would be where you would provide insights and perhaps suggestions to the rest of the commission as well as staff. The proposed community building subcommittee would kind of be as I mentioned, kind of expand on the special event subcommittee, but would also incorporate a lot of what we're finding with our Park and Rec master plan process, and that there really is kind of a call from the community for more engagement. And we would want the commission's insight and suggestions on how better to perform that, and perhaps attend more community events and and then give us and the rest of the commission your views on how well that's working or not. So those are the proposals, or I should say that is the proposal, and the overall goal here is to provide a higher level of engagement with the commission, so that you're not just coming to a once a month meeting and kind of getting the status on parks, but there's a little higher level of engagement, and that you're visiting our parks, you're using our services, and then based on what you see and what you experience, you can then update the rest of the commission and provide some recommendations and suggestions to staff. So if you have any questions on any one of those, we're happy to answer them between me and Lauren and Natasha online. We're happy to answer. Or if you would simply like to just discuss among yourselves, that is your prerogative.
I would also just add that the new subcommittees would also be kind of the driving force for building your work plans and your goals for the upcoming year as well, so that those subcommittees work kind of independently to develop like what those projects or goals would be for the year, and aren't in previous years they've been a bit more arbitrary, and that'll be the next item that comes before you. But that was kind of the other point with kind of redesigning the subcommittees.
Just to be devil's advocate, on the off chance that you have a tree that needs to be removed, will that fall under one of these?
I would suggest not, although it could fall, I mean, if we elect to, it could fall under Parks and Creek Trail, because it's more of a landscape issue
Right.
than a programming issue. Or another way that we could approach it is, because these things are so infrequent, is we could form a special ad hoc committee if an
Okay.
appeal ever comes to the PRC. We
Okay,
could simply ask for, let's form an ad hoc committee to make this evaluation.
okay,
So there would be a way to address it one way or the other.
just wanted to find out. Thank you.
I think these committees represent the work that you all do a lot better than the previous committees, so I like them.
I would say also that they make a lot of sense in terms of my experience of Parks and Recreation.
Anyone else? I would agree with both of those comments, so.
Just trying to get an understanding of these subcommittees. Previously, it seems like, I assume, the Parks and Creek Trail Subcommittee had most of the action as far as involvement, feedback from the public, as well as the special events, which it sounds like that special events subcommittee kind of gets wrapped into the community building subcommittee. But I think I agree with everyone else. This is a fair representation based on my understanding.
Do you need us to vote? Okay, and so can I have somebody make a nomination, or?
I'd like to start with making a motion that we press the Trees Committee in that special task that under the Parks and Creek Trail, and make it an ad hoc committee at that point. Because there's been no discussion over the past, since I've been here, and I was on that committee, so it seems like it'd be important to focus it, but not to set it as a high stress. That's what.
So that was a motion.
Yes, I move to do that. You want to vote on them first, or
Second.
do
I'll second that.
you second it? Okay.
Can you clarify what the motion is?
As I understand it, our vice chair's motion is to include any tree issues under the Parks and Creek Trail Subcommittee, and perhaps we can come up with a better title than that to reflect that. But the point is that if there are tree issues, that they would go under that, and we would not then need to form an ad hoc subcommittee.
Okay, so we have Chair Bites and Commissioner Lee, right? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? Okay, thank you.
Okay, I believe I can put my So we get the printing front to back. Okay, now we will discuss the annual work plan.
We didn't wrap up formation of the other team.
I'm,
So,
yeah, I'll make a motion that the new 3 committees be established for the commission.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? Thank you.
so now do we need to vote for chairs on these committees?
Great question.
And
How do
assign,
we
and
assign?
assign,
Yes, yeah,
Oh.
you do need to select 3 commissioners for each with a chair for each subcommittee.
okay,
So that would mean that you have 9 assignments. And you
okay,
have 7 commissioners.
okay.
And one is missing, so you can assign that person to anything. Sorry, Sharon.
Can we self-select?
Yes,
You can, as long as at the end, there's kind of a confirmation of this from, but yes,
But it all, yeah, okay, I want to be on record.
And I'll express my interest in parks, and where my expertise is.
And we're looking for chairs for each and
Members.
I
members
think
too.
first we should I would suggest that we distribute the membership first.
Membership,
And then
okay.
within each one, we can select the chair.
I want to show, I guess, express my interest in the Parks and Creek Trail. I'm an avid biker, rollerblader. I use the trail almost daily, so. Yeah, so interest in that. I also do have some interest in the recreation subcommittee as well, if you need another member.
I'm probably most interested in the number 2, and then special events, that one.
And I could be a part of number 1, Parks and Creek Trail, and 3, community building.
Or would you like?
Sherry, turn your mic on.
community building, I guess. And Parks and Creek Trail.
Hold that thought for a moment until we're, and then we need to place Sharon somewhere.
Okay, so we have. Well, I know Sharon likes going to the parks a lot, so I can say that.
Okay. So at this point, what I'm hearing is that we have 5 people interested in Parks and Creek Trail. We have 2 people interested in recreation, and we have 3 people interested in community building. So we need to trim down the Parks and the Creek Trail one from 5 to 3.
You could move me from 1 to 2.
Thank you for that. So at this point, now we have 4 people on parks, 3 on recreation, and 3 on community building. So what we really need to do is to reduce parks by 1. No, because there should only be 3 per subcommittee. And like I said, we have 7 people and we're trying to fill 9 assignments, so 2 people are gonna have 2 subcommittees.
So I think you right now you have me on 1 and 2. Of the 2, I think I'd rather prefer the parks. I know that seems to be the more popular option though.
So question to the chair, would you mind coming off of parks, or are you?
I'm fine to come off parks.
So if we,
You can put me in recreation and community building.
Well, here's where I think we are, and if anybody can correct me if I'm got this wrong, but on parks right now, we have, at least tentatively, this is not a motion, this is just my notes. On parks, we have Brian, Michael, and Sharon. You know, Sharon, that would be her
Yes,
preference. we
because
think. Yes.
yeah.
And then on recreation, we have Shirley, Frank, and Tina. And on community building, we have Frank, Tina, and Sherry. If that sounds viable to any of you, somebody can move staff recommendation.
I'll move staff's recommendation.
That puts Tina on 2 and Frank on 2.
Yes.
And I can throw myself out there as to be a fill-in if
Sure.
ever is needed.
Yeah,
I feel like
I
Sharon
should
would
point
fit.
out, I mean, I think we could try this for now, and if you find, I think those of you that are on 2, if you're worried about that and the workload is too much, too little, too something, we can revisit this. This is not carved in stone anyway. I mean, this can be revisited at some point. Perfectly fine.
And I'll just add that since the recreation and community building subcommittees are new, we'll kind of have to see what that looks like.
Yeah. We'll all be learning on,
Yeah,
on these.
And it doesn't preclude you from participating in the other committees. It's just that those subcommittees kind of take the brunt of the planning and any projects that come out of those ones.
Okay,
That puts you in a good role.
So I think there needs to be a second. Yeah, anyone's interested in seconding?
Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstains? Thank you.
okay, the next item on our agenda is the Valentine Fun Run.
I think we
We'll have to just
skip
go back
one.
to the work plan.
Which one did I skip?
Skip the annual work plan,
Well, those are always so,
aren't they?
I put a check mark by it already.
You're done.
That was wishful thinking. So there are several reasons that we discuss this with every, not just the Parks and Rec Commission, but with every advisory body. You know, the primary one is that it helps establish what your role will be over the next year and how you will address that. But furthermore, it also is something that we as staff will provide to council, and we will take that into consideration when we develop our work plans within our own departments and our own programs. So I'm not going to go through everything that was on your goals and work plan for calendar year 24, but it generally represents a good place to start for the upcoming year, because many of our processes and events and things that we do tend to happen over and over. So what you'll see first under goals there is a short list of some of the projects that we do pretty much on an annual basis. The items about the PRC either conducting meetings in a park or conducting a tour is totally at your prerogative. We have found historically that it's nice to conduct at least one meeting, particularly in the nice part of the year in one of our many parks. There have been years where we've done more than one, particularly if we were approaching doing a park renovation project, and it was a good way to ask for input from the neighboring community. So that can be useful for that. We haven't actually conducted a tour in several years now, but back in the pre-COVID days, we would schedule that for typically a Saturday morning, and we would get the van and drive the commission around to as many parks as we could do in about 2 or 3 or 4 hours. And that's one way if you didn't see them all otherwise, that would be one good way to see it. And then some of the other things on here, they speak more about collaboration with other commissions, or they speak more about how to increase community engagement. So that's in terms of goals. In terms of the work plan, you will find that we typically will bring to the commission our draft Parks Capital Improvement Program for either your concurrence or your suggestions otherwise about how it could be improved. And there really is a role that we bring projects and ideas to you before we get too far ahead of ourselves, you know, either in the budget process or in the community engagement process. So those are the types of things that we think are good to continue. But certainly, if you have any things that you would like to add or subtract or come up with different ideas, we are all about that. This will not require any formal action tonight, so we will take your input and somehow modify this as needed and come back to you at the February meeting and probably look for an approval at that point.
I have a quick question. Have there been many changes from last year to this year? Other than with the changes of the committee assignments?
I would say not too much. I mean, I think what will make 25 a little bit different is the fact that, and you're going to get a little more of an update on this in just a few minutes, is that we're currently in the Park and Recreation Master Planning process. And so you know that there will be another opportunity for community engagement. There will be a study session with the council that you would all be invited to. There will be increased opportunities to engage with the community, hopefully on an ongoing basis beyond that. So that may change how we interact with our community. But in terms of the budget process and the projects that we do, the project locations may change, but we do know that we will always be doing some level of park improvement project somewhere. And so the locations may change, but the process is similar. Yeah, exactly. But I do think there will be, you know, additional opportunities there this year, but they're kind of along the lines of this.
Okay, thank you.
And then I'll just add for the recreation side of things that we do plan on bringing the summer concert series back this year. So we may be looking to add that to like our community events.
That's going to be very good.
It's very popular.
Yes, it is.
And with the new subcommittee, the community building, you know, one option for Park and Rec Commission for this year would be to explore hosting a community building event, and what that looks like can be determined by that subcommittee with the support of Parks and Recreation staff of whatever that looks like. You know, the summer concerts and some of our events start off as like very small things, and then they kind of explode because our community is heavily involved in what we do. And so we're looking for the Park and Rec Commission possibly to kind of spearhead one of those new community events that really drives the community together. And we're hearing a lot from the Park and Recreation Master Plan that that's a big need and want out of our community and residents.
Thank you, Natasha.
I had a question about the master plan. Do we actually review the report? Or are we just like going to the community engagement sessions and going to the study session?
I think there will be an opportunity for that. The report is, well, I shouldn't say the report, it's a long process, right? And so the initial round of community engagement was conducted some number of months ago. And based on that, as well as taking an inventory of our system and conducting a needs assessment of what we have and identifying what we don't have, the consultant team is preparing to now start making recommendations. And so what we will see is when we invite you to come to the council study session, which at this point is looking like early March, we also want to give the council kind of a sampling of where this plan, where the plan may be going. And so beyond that, the plan will not be finalized, or at least isn't scheduled to be finalized until approximately June. So somewhere in there, we can probably provide you some additional updates. Now, whether we're going to send the administrative draft around, I think I need to talk to Natasha offline about that first.
So the study session in March will happen on Tuesday, and then the Park and Rec Commission will have their meeting on Wednesday night, and we'll have the same presentation basically to you. So it's both advisory bodies will have an opportunity to kind of weigh in with the prioritization and also have kind of an up-to-date of what we've done and all the work that's happened. So you're going to kind of get the outline of what that draft looks like at that meeting.
Thank you.
I have a quick question regarding other existing commissions, advisory bodies. What, I guess, other examples of any collaboration that's happened in the past? In my mind, I'm thinking Parks and Rec Commission along with the Planning Commission get together to meet about something. I guess that trying to understand what that goal means, that particular bullet point.
Well, I will say that these things don't lend themselves to any natural sort of collaboration because you're all focused on slightly different areas. But in the past, when we've done more interactive projects that have manifested themselves into something in a park, like the story walk that we have at Jack Fisher, thank you, was that was installed by the county library. So I am not recalling this 100% or not. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that maybe because the library often does report outs through the Civic Improvement Commission, that a project like that may go through the Civic Improvement Commission as well as the Parks and Rec Commission.
No, it was solely Park and Rec and then to council.
Okay.
I think in years past, we had talked about this goal, and it was originally the Youth Commission. And I think last year it was kind of watered down to be any advisory body. So it could be Civic Improvement Commission or Bike and Ped or whatever, if there was a project down the pipeline. That's a goal that actually has not come to fruition yet. It doesn't have to, as you know, it can just be, that's on the bucket list of things you'd like to get to. But I think it originated with the Youth Commission of trying to pair a project like a park cleanup or something like that with another group that had the same kind of subcommittees or goals for the year that aligned with yours.
I would add that, my hypothetical example did not work, but in the future, we as a city will be undertaking a multimodal plan that will be a citywide effort that will speak to how do people travel across the city, right? Because everything historically has been vehicle centric. So with more of an emphasis on pedestrians and bicycling and access to transit, there may be and our bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee will play a big role in that project. I would think that there would also be an opportunity to identify that access to parks and recreational spaces would be important. And so that might be an issue that when we move forward with that, we may choose to form an ad hoc subcommittee of this commission, as well as something, maybe an ad hoc subcommittee from what we call the BPAC, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and maybe have the group work together on providing input back to the staff that's managing that project. So something like that would be a good way to collaborate. So that one may actually happen in 2025, but maybe toward the end of the year. But we just did get our grant funding for that project, and it will move forward this year.
That's very interesting. I had actually, when I saw that, thought of Bikes and Pedestrian Advisory Committee as a bicycle and pedestrian safety issue in accessing our parks and our community center, that would be also a way to collaborate. Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments or suggestions? And do you need us to vote on these?
I don't think we do. I think we can, I mean, if anybody else has any input, please don't be shy.
Are there other goals or work plans you would like added or removed? That's kind of, this is our opportunity to kind of take notes and bring you back more of a final next month.
I'd like to say, just an observation that you've worked very hard in this last year, pulling things together in the plan for where we're going with some of this stuff. I'd like to see that kept in focus and a major issue for us as a committee.
So finding, I guess a work plan item would be identifying ways for like addressing action items from the work plan or from the master plan.
Yes. I can give an example. There was a lot of discussion around the youth place where the kids can skateboard and stuff like that. I don't think I heard any answers that was completely locking that down. So that's an example that I see it would be essential to have us as a partner with as that gets finished up. Because remember, we had a young man come here who was one of those students that said, I like doing this and I want you to sit. And so it'd be vital for us to be able to be involved in that.
Well, Lauren's going to report out at that at the end.
No pressure.
I'm just gonna piggyback on what was said there, specifically about the skate park. I know, and just about getting more end user feedback. I think particularly with a skate park, you have members of the community that aren't necessarily going to be vocal or have the knowledge base or understanding on how to bring their opinion to the table. So I feel like it's the responsibility of this sort of commission to be more proactive to find those, to get that feedback.
Okay, if nobody else has anything else to comment on, we will now move to the Valentine Fun Run.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. We are very excited to be hosting our 48th, I think. If it's not 48th, it's 47th.
It's 48.
48. It's the number of years I've been on this earth. That's how I actually remember it, but it's not yet. My birthday is not till September. But, so our Valentine Fun Run is going to be taking place on Saturday, February 8th in Campbell Park. We are looking for assistance from all of you for our packet pickup that usually takes place on the Friday before. We do that at the sports basement. And then the day of the actual event, Saturday in the morning, we do additional packet pickup. And then there's a variety of other things that we could potentially need your assistance with. This is one of our busiest fun runs. So last year, I think we hosted almost 700 people for that fun run. Whereas our Oktoberfest fun run tends to be a little bit closer to 550, 600 people. So we're really pushing for 850 this year. If anyone likes to walk or run, there is a 5K and 10K option, and you're welcome also to participate. But we will be sending each of you an email with a link for our volunteer opportunities to sign up for that with the Friday shifts or the Saturday shift if that works best for your schedule. And I told Lauren Council that I would mention it tonight and that we would follow up with an email tomorrow or Friday. So you should get that by the end of the week.
Just what does packet mean?
Oh, that's a great question. So when you register for the fun run, we get your bib ready and you get a t-shirt and then we have our sponsors put together a little sponsor packet. So we put it all together in a little packet for you. And then we ask, it's easiest if people pick it up prior to the race because then they can come with their race shirt on if they want to, and their race number and everything attached. Otherwise, if you aren't able to make it the day before, we do have it available to pick up that morning. We used to offer on-site registration, but it's been challenging, and since COVID, we've kind of moved away from that, so we do pre-registration only. Because we used to do that in the morning too.
Any other comments?
Questions? We'll see you there. Wish for sunshine. But it is rain or shine, I'll say that.
Okay, next we have our Parks and Creek Trail committee reports. I think that was me. I don't have anything to report. And trees? Anybody on the trees? There's nothing. Special,
I'm on that.
I know you are. Special events? I don't think there were any.
I don't think there were any special events, yeah.
Now we are to staff reports, and we will start off with parks.
Okay, thank you. Before we get started, I just want to do some introductions so you kind of know who we are. And so I'll introduce the public works side, and when we get to recreation, for those of you that don't know Lauren and Natasha, they are the recreation staff. But I'm from Public Works. I'm Todd Caperso. Also from Public Works, we have our superintendent, Ron Carmina. We have our park supervisor, Bob Szynski. And we have our executive assistant, Becca Rodriguez. So we are from Public Works, and we love being here at the commission meetings, but you will get your report outs from any combination of us when you're here. We may not all four of us be at every meeting together, except for Becca. Becca has to be at every meeting. The other three of us may draw straws periodically and see if one of us can miss here or there. So what we will typically do is I will turn it over to Bob, and Bob will give you the operational update of what's going on in terms of parks with regard to park maintenance, operational things that you might see if you're out and about in our parks. And then I'll catch you up a little bit on some capital projects and special events after that. But let's go ahead and get started with Bob first, if we can.
Good evening, commissioners, and congratulations on your new appointments. As Todd said, I'm Bob Szynski, the park supervisor, and I just a couple of quick highlights of our maintenance program. The community center maintenance staff has recently installed about 100 feet of turf drainage. They've trenched about 12 to 18 inches deep, applied drain rock and drain pipe, and a filter fabric soil, material fabric, and then backfilled it. And the intention is that we improve the drainage and the playability for the sports teams that are actively using those fields. We could pretty much use the entire fields by getting this water moved off. We'll have more playability. So real excited about that. We've already had a rain on Friday, and the report was it's working well. So we'll follow up on that. Sometimes the Parks Department's working at night. We have on our annual maintenance program a weed spraying program. And what we do is we go out at night and we spray pre-emergent on city-owned properties, such as medians with boemanite, sound walls where the weeds come through the cracks. Out on White Oaks, there's an area that we apply these products to control the weeds. What that does is when spring and summer comes, we don't have a weed problem, which saves us a lot of labor, a lot of resources, and keeps the town, the city looking neat and clean. So, but you won't see that unless you're out at night. I am happy to announce that on January 6th, We have promoted one of our employees. His name's Jason Ortez. He's a maintenance worker too. He works out at John Morgan Park. He is a very hard worker. He's very diligent. He has attained his California pesticide license, applicator's license. And he's a real go-getter. And he applied for the park maintenance lead worker position. There was an open recruitment and he was competitive and has been selected for that position. So we're really proud of him and what he's done. Some of you guys have met Ignacio Harrell. He used to work out at John Morgan Park. He's still with us. And he will be taking care of some different sites throughout the city, different parks. And then finally, one of our more routine tasks is leaf litter pickup. And I'm happy to announce that we've got most of it done. We use volunteers, we use heavy equipment, and we use our own labor. And now that that part is under control, staff is already focusing on spring and summer by looking at irrigation inspections and possibly some broadleaf weed control, fertilization, and aeration in preparation for our spring and summer. And that's the park's maintenance report for today. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have an observation. J.D. Morgan.
Yes.
We were here talking a while back about control of squirrels. And I noticed at that point, there's some kind of noise that went on, but there were about 30 or 40 squirrels all at once running from the area of the buildings down there up to the top of the hill. I haven't seen any squirrels hardly at all. There's about 2 lately. So just curious what may have caused that big change. And then the other thing I want to give credit for really clearly is the grass components of that park are absolutely great. You were working really hard to get that corrected.
So you're complimenting the color and density of the turf?
Yes, it's really solid. Remember for a while there, it had all kinds of little notches and stuff.
Yeah, we're actually applying a biomaterial. Let's just put it that way. You spray it on there and it helps the microbes. So thank you for that feedback. Hopefully we're seeing some results of that work that goes beyond this, behind the scenes, but shows up later. Any other questions, concerns?
I had one item. I don't know if this falls to you with parks. Talking with some neighbors and other parents that utilize the Campbell Park, specifically the playground, the water feature there. Typically it's turned off during the winter in past years, at least that's the pattern I've noticed. So recently in the past couple of weeks, it has been on, and unfortunately a 4-year-old doesn't have the self-control not to go get himself wet when it's 50 degrees outside.
Okay.
So I guess the question is how does that typically function? It seems like you get turned it off in the past. Is there a reason that it was on recently? And I guess is that typical across all playgrounds, water features throughout the city?
Well, you have brought that to my attention that it is operational now. It's not really a greatest situation given the temperatures. We have a way to manually turn it off. We'll take care of that.
Okay.
Thanks for
Glad to
bringing
hear. Yeah, no, talking to multiple parents within my neighborhood, they had the same issue I did, which was my 4-year-old getting themselves wet, and it's very cold.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Good.
Thank you, Bob, for your report.
Thanks, Bob. I would also add a couple of items regarding capital improvements. So for those of you that were at the November and December meetings, this will be a repeat to you, but I thought it'd best be to help bring everybody else up to speed. We recently awarded a project to renovate the parking lot, one of the parking lots at John D. Morgan Park. That thing went to council at least once. It went twice actually, because we needed a budget adjustment. But we will be making improvements to the parking lot that runs adjacent to the expressway. And that will be done over the months of February and March, I believe. That may get extended, it's weather dependent, of course. But you may see periodic closures in that parking lot over that time. So as we try to extend the life of that lot. And you may have, I've also talked to the commission at large about the dog park that exists out at Los Gatos Creek County Park. So that that facility was actually constructed by the city of Campbell more than 20 years ago. And we have been working with county parks to help renovate that. And we thought we were going along a successful path, but county is considering a prohibition on synthetic turf. And I should have added that that is constructed with synthetic turf. And so we were moving along a path of replacing it. If the county moves forward with the prohibition, we will have to kind of regroup on what the next best treatment out there would be. But we do have some funds in our Parks Capital budget to help improve that facility. And depending on what the County Board of Supervisors elects to do, which tentatively they're supposed to make a decision on it sometime in January, we will then kind of regroup and see if we have a strategy that we can help improve that facility. Because that's one of the, that's a bit essentially a partnership facility in that constructed by the city on county parkland. So looking forward to getting some improvements out there as well. And then speaking of facilities that don't technically belong to the city of Campbell, I think we've also talked to you several times in the past, but this will be good for our new commissioners. Just the way that Campbell and city of San Jose boundaries are, you know, it's not probably a surprise to any of you that there are Campbell residents that use San Jose parks and there are Campbell residents and vice versa. So the two parks that we have sometimes worked with the city of San Jose staff to provide improvements to are Hammond Park, which is up off of Central Avenue, kind of in the northerly part of the city, north of Hamilton, if you take Central Avenue, and then one called San Tomas Park, which is out in the San Tomas area. And the way that we've engaged with city of San Jose over the years has typically been through volunteer projects. We've done several Martin Luther King Day of Service projects, and we've alternated between the two. Our staff has typically provided some support work either on the event day or in preparation of the event. And we think that we've been able to improve those facilities enough that because we want them to also be at a higher quality. Not that we're not trying to knock another city's parks maintenance capabilities, but the resources that we put in maintaining our parks in Campbell is at a higher level than what is provided by many of the surrounding cities. And so we feel that we can sometimes add to the quality of those facilities by participating in these events. All that being said, there will be an event this year, Martin Luther King Day, January 20th, 2025, out at Mary Jane Hammond Park. This event will be conducted and managed by City of San Jose Parks and Recreation, but we are getting the word out to Campbell residents, particularly that Hammond Park neighborhood. For those of you that have been into Hammond Park, if you look to the to the west and to the south, those are Campbell houses that are basically across the street from the park. So that park is essentially in a Campbell neighborhood. It's a San Jose park. So we try to join forces as we can. And there will be an event out there on Monday, the 20th, that will run from 8:45 a.m. until 12 noon. I can send you the link for that event separately. So if you see an email from me later this week, that's what it's about. If you would like to sign up, the city of San Jose does ask that you register to volunteer in advance of one of their volunteer projects. But as I say, I will send you that. And if you're so inclined, we may see you out there. And if not, I'm sure we'll see you at something else further down the road. And if there are no questions with that, I turn it over to Recreation.
Okay. The Ainsley House is now closed until early March. They had a very successful holiday season. The Historical Museum will remain open and continue to host field trips for schools now that they're back in session. The next season of shows at the Heritage Theater will take place on March 1st, which is a podcast speaker. The title is Serial Killers with Dr. Scott Bond, and tickets are still available for that. Our Adult Center will be hosting their annual Chinese New Year celebration on Sunday, February 9th. There's entertainment and dinner, and this will take place in the Orchard City Banquet Hall, and tickets are still available for that as well. That event tends to sell out, so if anyone's interested, jump on it soon. The RFPs for the design of the new adult center are out, and they're taking this month, and that project is going to be moving forward, so that's exciting. We're proposing to move our adult center to where the E-wing is now, which is closest to the parking lot. Everybody know where that is? Okay, just want to make sure. I already talked about the fun run. We will be hosting, our department's gonna host our annual open house event on Saturday, March 1st at the Campbell Community Center. This is for day camp and summer camp opportunities for the community to be on site so that people, families that want to register for those programs can come, interact, ask questions. That's right when our activity guide becomes live, and it's just 2 weeks before we actually do registration for our summer camp and swim programs. And then in addition to that, we'll be hosting swim assessments, which is geared to help families determine what level of swim lesson their child should be in prior to registering. Because what we found is that you lose skill over the non-swimming months, obviously. And so sometimes you might end in level 2 and they might register you right for level 2, but you've lost some skill and you're really kind of at the top of level 1. And then once registrations happen and swim lessons are taking place, it's very difficult to shift those kids into the right lesson because there's wait lists and everything going on. So we're really trying to do our best to try and help get people into the right level of swim lessons prior to registration. And so we'll be doing that assessment on March 1st, but we'll also have an assessment the week before, and I think 2 weeks prior or after as well. The Youth Commission will be hosting a teen wellness event on the same day as the open house, and wellness and resource events for teens in the community, which is one of their work plan items. Skate park item. We will be hosting an event also on March 1st. We're really packing it in that day. March 1st from noon to 2 p.m. to help kind of kick off the design for the skate park. We will have 2 professional skaters that'll be coming out, and we're going to be doing a whole engagement with the community to try and get input on the design of the skate park. So we've met with the consultants. They're working on a very brief conceptual design, and then we're going to come out in March and kind of get some feedback from the skaters and the people in our community to try and tell us like what's great, what's not great, things like that, so that we have some direction on where to go with that. The second and final community workshop for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan will take place on Wednesday, January 15th, a week from tonight, 6:30 to 8:30 in the Orchard City Banquet Hall at the Community Center. The workshop is going to be giving the community the task to kind of help prioritize some of the recommendations that they've gotten thus far. So we've talked about the council study session that will happen. We're shooting for March 4th. We'll give you more information about that, but that is our next opportunity with the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And that is all I have, unless Natasha remembered something else.
No, thank you.
Any comments, questions?
I do have a question. Would you say a little more about the adult center renovation? What the plans
Sure.
are?
So you've been to our adult center office. It is located in C33, and it's quite literally the farthest location from the parking lots. We had some vacancies with some of our lease tenants, and we've made some other kind of strategic plans to move other tenants from that E-wing, that entire E-wing. And the idea is that we will move the adult center office to the E-wing, and we will renovate the existing spaces. Some of them won't be crazy renovated. The library is also currently there, so this will all take place once the library attaches themselves to this property. But the idea is that we'll have a front-facing office close to the parking lot, close to ADA parking, and then most, if not all, of our adult center classes will take place in that E-wing, so it's close to the parking lot and all of those things. There'll still be classes that'll take place in our dance studios, and pickleball will continue to be in the gym and things like that, but our art classes, any other expansion classes will all take place over there. And we hope to have, a welcoming kind of lobby area for people to hang out in, and spaces for our clubs to meet, to, play bridge and pinochle and all the other things that our seniors love to do. Did that answer your question?
It did. It sounds wonderful. It sounds really great. I'm so glad that you're moving it. It makes so much more sense.
It really does. Yeah, we're excited that we got the support from council and we have the budget, so out to RFP for design, and we'll bring more updates to you throughout the year.
Great.
I have a question. Unfortunately, I can't make it to the January 15th event, but can you speak a little bit more about what they plan on presenting or getting feedback on, and whether there's a way we could kind of give feedback after the event?
I'm glad you brought that up. So I don't have the exact notes right in front of me, and Todd and I can kind of discuss what we're going to talk about at that meeting on the 15th, but there will be, as a result of that meeting and some of those discussions, there's going to be a community input survey that's going to go out after that meeting. So there will be an opportunity for you to kind of weigh in and help prioritize and put in your recommendations for what they've received for the community input thus far. So that will be an option to participate if you aren't able to make it. So that's not a problem at all.
So-
I appreciate you letting us know. Go ahead.
Tina, at the workshop, they have kind of summarized the information that they've collected since this project started from the community, of what the community values. And they're going to be going through a prioritization process of those different types of values, of like which ones are most important to you when we are selecting projects. And then they've also, based on their assessment, identified areas and projects for improvement in our Parks and Recreation system. And they have about 10 of them. And they're looking for what are the kind of the top ones coming out. And so there'll be some small group work and some large group work. And kind of what comes out of that, they're going to then create an online survey for people to participate. It will not be the same. It'll be kind of driven from what comes out of that workshop to help with the prioritization of the projects.
Great, thank you.
And I'll also just let you know that typically the consultants provide us with their outline that I'll post online. So if you want to check our website, or I can shoot you an email and let you know when that's available. And then their presentation is typically available online and in Spanish as well. So we post that on our website.
Okay, that's gonna move us on to Good of the Game. And for those new commissioners, Good of the Game is just what it sounds like. It's things people notice that have been going well over the past month. So I'm gonna start with you. I know it was a busy month.
Well, I was around over the holidays, spent a lot of time at the parks, on the playgrounds, and they were very well used, well maintained. And so, yeah, and I think it wasn't as rainy it hasn't been as rainy of a winter as we've seen in the past few years. So I'll stop there, but I also want to just welcome the new commissioners.
I also want to welcome the new commissioners. Just an observation again about Grand Park, that Grand Park. The youth area there has been redesigned and from what I can see, it's one of the more popular places that parents and little kids like to see and do. And they have some great activities they're going through on there. So that looks like that would be an A+ process.
And other than welcoming the new commissioners, and I hope everybody had a great holiday season. That's probably it for my good of the game. And would any of our new commissioners like to add anything?
I will. Just really happy to be here, and I think it's going to be exciting to work together. And I visited the Campbell Park recently, walking around from downtown, and I was so excited to see how well used it was. And I went by there a few times, particularly the children's playground area. And having it so close to downtown and being such a central part of the city, I think it's really great. So that's my good of the game.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I guess I'll just also say I'm excited to be here. Love that I have the opportunity to voice, my experience. I do want to piggyback also on the playgrounds. Specifically Campbell Park, John D. Morgan, they've been recently renovated. They work fantastic. The kids love them. There's a large age range of kids. This is something that I do with my kids almost daily. Just, I guess, express my happiness.
Okay, thank you. And with that,
Brian did.
oh, sorry.
I
Brian.
will now.
Go ahead.
Well, just as the new commissioners, one, I am very happy to be here. Campbell Park, best basketball courts. Santa Monica is close by, but basketball courts nowhere near as good as Campbell Park's. And I got to see the Chinooks salmon coming up the creek right above the park for the first time ever that I saw. That was great to see in the creek too. Great holiday.
Okay, with that, I will adjourn tonight's meeting, and our next meeting is February 5th.
Thank you.
Thank you.